No one seems to have the time for a frail, elderly woman. Mocking laughter danced through the bank, a haunting melody that lingered in the air. The young man tightened his fist, stepped forward from the crowd, and gracefully placed himself before her. Moments later, purposeful footsteps echoed through the air. A distinguished four-star general, adorned in ceremonial uniform, made his entrance. What could possibly compel an entire banking system to humbly kneel and extend an apology to a grieving widow? Greetings and a warm welcome to Greerman. Let us unveil the truth of what truly transpired. As Ethan Brooks gracefully adjusted his well-loved baseball cap, he stepped into the First National Bank on a Thursday morning, the air filled with a sense of promise. At 29, the former serviceman moved through life with a serene grace. With shoulders poised and eyes sparkling with awareness, each movement flows with grace and purpose. Half a year following his honorable discharge, he embraced civilian life as a plumber, discovering a deep sense of fulfillment in mending issues with his skilled hands. The experience of being raised as the son of a war widow had intricately woven itself into the fabric of Ethan's being, influencing him in ways he seldom revealed. When Ethan was merely 7 years old, his father, a Marine sergeant, met his untimely fate in Afghanistan. He still recalled the way his mother faced her challenges, not merely in terms of finances, but also the condescending treatment she frequently encountered while navigating the labyrinth of bureaucracy. Those cherished memories had awakened in Ethan a deep-seated protective instinct for those who served and the families they occasionally left behind. Tomorrow marked the day his apartment rent was due, and he found himself favoring the intimacy of a personal payment over the uncertainty of the mail. As Ethan took his place in the brief queue at the teller window, his gaze was drawn to an elderly woman gracefully engaged at the customer service desk. She seemed to be in her late 70s, her silver hair elegantly gathered into a neat bun, adorned in a cardigan that contrasted with the warmth of the spring day. Her hands quivered gently as she glided a document across the desk. "Madam," the young bank representative said, her voice tinged with a hint of impatience, "I have already explained this 3 times. The system presents no errors. The fee was applied in accordance with our established policies. Yet this letter reveals a different truth," the woman insisted, her voice gentle yet resolute. "It seems unjust that my husband's military pension is subjected to these charges. It remains safeguarded. Our computer reveals no extraordinary status," and the representative interjected, scarcely casting a glance at the document. "Regrettably, I find myself unable to assist in this matter." The woman's shoulders gently fell, yet she stood tall, her dignity unwavering. Ethan discerned that stance, a familiar quiet strength reminiscent of the grace his mother exhibited in the face of countless similar dismissals. "May I kindly request to speak with a manager, please?" the graceful elderly woman inquired. A young man standing behind Ethan let out a dramatic sigh. "Some individuals simply fail to grasp the intricacies of lines," he murmured with a hint of exasperation. Those within the bank cast fleeting glances, only to avert their eyes in a flurry of embarrassment, hesitant to entangle themselves in the unfolding confrontation. The bank representative's expression grew even more resolute. "The manager is currently unavailable, and as I have mentioned, there is nothing further to discuss. Perhaps it would be best to return at a later time, when you possess the appropriate documentation." "My dear lady," the eager young man implored, "might I suggest you share your grievances elsewhere? Some among us have genuine responsibilities awaiting our attention." Ethan sensed a familiar warmth bloom within his chest, reminiscent of the poignant moment he witnessed his mother's tears, cast aside by officials indifferent to her plight. Before he could allow doubt to creep in, he gracefully stepped out of line and made his way to the customer service desk. With tender reverence, he rested his hand upon the shoulder of the elderly woman. The bank representative glanced up, taken aback. "This woman deserves your respect and attention," Ethan said softly, his voice imbued with a serene authority cultivated through his experiences. "I am more than willing to await your thoughtful response to her concerns." The representative's expression transformed from irritation to a delicate uncertainty. "My dear sir, this matter does not pertain to you. Kindly return to your position in line, if you would be so gracious." Ethan lingered gracefully beside the elderly woman. In truth, It holds significance for me and for all present here. Each of us is worthy of being embraced with grace and respect. Gazes from across the bank were drawn to him, some filled with admiration, others laced with disapproval, while many simply felt the unease of a disruption in the delicate fabric of social norms. "Is there an issue at hand?" inquired a security guard, advancing with a measured grace. Ethan offered a gentle smile. "Not a concern in the slightest. I find myself by this lady's side, patiently awaiting the resolution of her concerns. When all others depart, it is only the whisper of conscience that endures. Remain by our side to discover the unfolding of what lies ahead." As the security guard lingered with a hint of hesitation, the elderly woman cast a warm and appreciative smile towards Ethan. "Thank you, dear sir, but there is no need for you to exert yourself." Her voice possessed the delicate lilt of the South, yet it was underpinned by a resolute strength that lay beneath the softness. "It is no trouble at all, my lady," Ethan replied, gracefully holding his position beside her. She gracefully extended her hand. Grace Carter, the cherished widow of Colonel Samuel Carter, 1st Infantry Division. 15 years ago, he made the ultimate sacrifice while serving in Iraq. Ethan took her hand, feeling the strength of her grip, a striking contrast to the delicate age-spotted skin that adorned it. Ethan Brooks, a distinguished veteran of the 10th Mountain Division. Helen's eyes sparkled with a hint of recognition. "I believe my Samuel had the pleasure of training some of your esteemed officers." She glanced back at the bank representative, whose gaze lingered on their conversation with a barely concealed impatience. "This correspondence originates from the Veterans Administration. It is clearly articulated that these accounts enjoy an exemption from maintenance fees. 3 months prior, a similar letter graced our correspondence, and your manager took the liberty to amend it then." Ethan cast a fleeting gaze upon the paper. The letterhead bore an air of authority, while the language flowed with clarity. He had encountered akin documents while navigating his journey into civilian life. "Mrs. Carter possesses the appropriate documentation right here," Ethan observed with a hint of admiration. "Would you be so kind as to take another glance?" The youthful envoy let out a dramatic sigh. "Our computer system serves as the ultimate arbiter of account status rather than a mere letter. If there has been a change, it is essential for her to address it with the VA rather than with us." At this point, the confrontation had captivated the gaze of all present in the bank. A distinguished gentleman in a finely tailored suit emerged from the office, his brow furrowed in response to the unwelcome interruption. "What is causing the delay, my dear Madison?" he inquired of the representative. Just as Madison was about to respond, a voice emerged from the line. "This gentleman is coming to the aid of a lovely elderly lady. Some of us have destinations to reach." Ethan discerned the speaker as the same eager young man he had encountered earlier. Those in line exchanged knowing glances, their gestures of checking watches and phones imbued with a touch of theatrical frustration. "My dear Ethan," the elegantly attired gentleman began, "I fully comprehend your apprehensions, yet we must adhere to our established protocols. Mrs. Carter may arrange a meeting to converse about this matter." Ethan sensed a tightening in his jaw, yet maintained a steady tone in his voice. "With all due respect, sir, this matter transcends mere procedures. It concerns honoring the choices made for one who has devoted themselves to the service of this nation." The gentleman in the tailored suit, presumably a manager, cast a discerning gaze. "Are you implying that we lack respect for military families? Rest assured, this bank is graced by the presence of numerous esteemed veterans among its clientele." With a touch of grace, Ethan suggested, "Mrs. Carter merits far more than to be overlooked." With a graceful motion, Grace delved into her purse and retrieved a delicate card, gently placing it into Ethan's palm with a touch of intimacy. He cast his gaze downward, taking in the military insignia adorned with the words Charlie Company, 1st Division, a distinguished and revered unit of exceptional honor. "It is perfectly fine, my dear," Grace murmured softly. "I have grown accustomed to this graceful dance by now." There was an enchanting grace in her serene composure that resonated profoundly with Ethan. This transcended the mere matter of a bank fee. It spoke of the way society embraced those who had devoted their all for the love of their country. As the uniforms faded into the distance and the echoes of the parade subsided, the security guard drew nearer. "My dear sir, Unless you are engaged in matters of business, I must kindly request that you take your leave." A lady in line called out, her voice carrying a gentle lilt. "He merely dons the guise of a hero. Perhaps they were never truly part of the military." Another voice chimed in. "Indeed, who bestowed upon him the authority of the bank's guardian?" Ethan found himself enveloped in a haunting solitude, a disconnection that had shadowed him since his return to civilian life, where conversations about supporting troops often danced around the deeper, unspoken truths that lay beneath. For a fleeting moment, he contemplated the idea of turning away. He bore his own burdens, his own debts to settle. Grace appeared to perceive his moment of uncertainty. "You have truly given your all, my dear son. I possess the strength to confront my own challenges." Yet, the resolute essence of Ethan, the very spirit that had carried him through 18 months in Afghanistan, remained unyielding. "I'm not leaving," he murmured softly to Helen, then turned to meet the gaze of the manager. "I am a valued patron of this esteemed bank. I possess the right to be present, and I have chosen to stand by Mrs. Carter until her concerns are duly acknowledged." The manager's cheeks blossomed with a delicate hue. "In that case, I must kindly request that you both take your leave. We must ensure that no disruptions impact our valued customers." Summoning the police would certainly weave an intriguing tale, wouldn't it? Ethan responded with a calm grace. "A military widow is removed from the bank due to a contested fee. Is that truly the kind of attention you desire?" The standoff lingered, as the manager and Madison shared fleeting glances, each one laden with unspoken words. At last, Madison gently set aside Helen's papers. "We shall delve deeper into this matter, Mrs. Carter. It would be best for you to return home and await our call with anticipation." With a gentle droop of her shoulder, Grace nodded, her grace unwavering. "Indeed, quite splendid." As she collected her papers, she bestowed upon Ethan's hand a tender squeeze. "I am truly grateful for your kindness. It serves as a gentle reminder that some hearts still hold on to cherished memories." Ethan was enveloped in a swirl of frustration and vulnerability, feelings he had wrestled with since his departure. He rose to his feet. Indeed, but what had it truly achieved? The system stood resolute, shielded by its protocols and a veil of indifference. As they prepared to depart, Grace softly murmured, "My dearest Samuel often remarked that a single soul who champions what is just holds more value than a legion of those who stand for naught." The security guard glided toward the door, his intentions unmistakably guiding them toward an exit. Ethan strolled alongside Helen, his hand gently resting at her elbow, keenly aware of the admiring gazes that trailed behind them. Some expressed sympathy, while most were simply intrigued by the unexpected interruption to their day. If you have ever observed an innocent soul enduring injustice, please express your sentiment by typing "unfair." As they neared the bank's shimmering glass doors, Ethan found himself entangled in a dance of conflicting desires. A part of him yearned to elevate the confrontation, to seek justice for Grace with a more impassioned fervor. Another aspect acknowledged the hopelessness of battling against a deeply rooted system. After all, what could a solitary soldier hope to achieve against the formidable might of a corporate giant? Grace appeared to unveil the secrets of his mind. "You've accomplished more than many ever could," she murmured gently. To stand beside someone is to share a connection that transcends mere words. The security guard extended his hand to open the door, his expression unreadable, yet his posture conveyed a sense of being ushered out rather than graciously aided. "I truly wish I could have done more," Ethan replied, his voice laced with sincere regret. Grace gently caressed his arm. "At times, the mere presence of another is all that one truly needs." Just as they were about to step outside, the grand double doors of the bank gracefully swung open from the outside. Ethan instinctively retreated a step, placing himself gently in front of Helen, a tender reflex from his days in service. A tall gentleman in his early 60s made his entrance, adorned in the distinguished dress uniform of a U.S. A distinguished Army general, adorned with an array of ribbons and stars gracefully displayed upon his shoulders. Behind him trailed 4 officers clad in formal military attire, their presence striking and dignified, effortlessly capturing the gaze of all around. The bank was enveloped in a profound silence. The security guard stood motionless, his hands resting gently on the door. Ethan instinctively straightened, sensing the commanding presence before him. The general's gaze gracefully traversed the room, ultimately resting upon Grace and Ethan. "Mrs. Carter," he uttered, his voice imbued with a captivating blend of command and tenderness. "We have been searching for you, my dear." Helen's eyes sparkled with a newfound understanding. "General Preston," she replied, a hint of surprise gracing her voice. General Charles Preston, the esteemed commanding officer of the Regional Military Command, stepped forward, his presence commanding attention and leaving everyone in the bank in a state of astonished wonder. He enveloped Grace in a tender embrace, honoring her with the reverence one would reserve for a beloved family member. "My dearest Helen, I sincerely apologize for the delay we have encountered. The traffic proved to be more daunting than anticipated." With a gentle retreat, he regarded her with heartfelt concern. "Is all well in this place?" Before Grace could respond, the bank manager hurried forward, a mixture of recognition and concern flickering across his features. "General Preston, what a delightful surprise it is to encounter you. I am Madison Wilson, the branch manager. How may First National assist you today?" The general's demeanor softened as he regarded the manager with a thoughtful gaze. "It is my honor to personally accompany Mrs. Grace Carter to the memorial dedication ceremony. However, it seems there may be a matter that requires our attention beforehand." Grace gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "It seems we find ourselves in the familiar maze of uncertainty regarding James's pension account, Charles. This charming young man graciously chose to stand by my side." With a graceful motion, she directed her gaze toward Ethan. General Preston directed his complete focus towards Ethan, who stood poised yet relaxed, a silent recognition shared between two veterans. "And who might you be?" the general inquired. "Ethan Brooks, esteemed sir, a former specialist of the distinguished 10th Mountain Division." The general extended his hand, and Ethan grasped it with a firm yet graceful touch. "I appreciate your care for Mrs. Carter. She holds a cherished place in the heart of our military family." As General Preston turned his attention back to the increasingly uneasy bank manager, a subtle sharpness crept into his voice. "Perhaps you are not yet acquainted with the enchanting Grace Carter. Permit me to shed light on the matter at hand." The whole bank, both customers and employees, remained captivated as the general continued his address. "Grace Carter is no ordinary military widow. For 37 years, she gracefully partnered with her husband at training facilities throughout this beautiful country. As Colonel Carter imparted his wisdom and tactics to the soldiers, Grace gracefully guided countless young recruits through the delicate journey of adapting to military life. She created enduring support programs for military families that continue to thrive even now. One of the officers accompanying the general gracefully stepped forward, presenting him with a folder. When Colonel Carter met his fate, valiantly protecting 3 of his men amidst the chaos of an ambush in Fallujah, Grace continued her unwavering service. She has graciously dedicated more than 15,000 hours of her time to serve at VA hospitals. The fee exemption she seeks to elucidate was graciously sanctioned by the Secretary of Defense, honoring her remarkable contributions. The manager's face had lost its vibrant hue. Madison, the youthful representative, appeared to be attempting to blend into the shadows of her desk. Moreover, the general continued, "The account in question contains funds from a distinguished pension category created for the families of Medal of Honor recipients, which Colonel Carter was honored with posthumously." A soft murmur of astonishment swept through the bank. Even Ethan experienced a fresh tide of admiration envelop him as he came to understand the true identity of the one he had been championing. General Preston's voice, unwavering and smooth, resonated through the hushed bank, captivating all who were present. "Mrs. Carter has always refrained from leveraging her connections or her husband's esteemed position to seek preferential treatment, rendering it all the more disheartening to witness her being overlooked when she merely inquired about her rightful entitlements." The manager was now clearly perspiring, a sheen of anxiety glistening on his brow. "It seems there has been a delightful miscommunication, General. We shall address this without delay." "Indeed, you shall accomplish far more than that," the general responded. "I humbly request a comprehensive review of the management of veterans' accounts within this esteemed institution. One of my team members will stay here to initiate that process today." He gazed at Grace with a softness in his eyes. The ceremony shall commence in but an hour's time. All are eagerly anticipating the moment to celebrate you and James." Grace smiled with a gentle grace. "I would never dream of missing it." As they readied themselves to depart, General Preston cast a lingering glance back at Ethan. "Mr. Brooks, might we have the pleasure of your company?" The ceremony honors the brave soldiers and the devoted families who stand by their side. From what I have observed, you grasp that connection more profoundly than many. Ethan paused, momentarily lost for words, before gracefully nodding his acceptance. As they strolled toward the door, the general lingered beside the young man who had been so expressive in his earlier grievances. Preston raised his voice, allowing his words to dance through the air, ensuring that all present could catch their melodic essence without directly turning to him. At times, the most significant struggles unfold not on faraway battlefields, but in the familiar settings of banks, offices, and neighborhoods, where the heart of life beats quietly yet resolutely. At times, the most profound bravery lies not in the act of rushing into danger, but in the quiet strength of remaining by someone's side when all others choose to depart. At the curb, a military vehicle stood in silent anticipation. As Grace was gently guided inside, she sought Ethan's hand for one final, tender moment. "Thank you for gracing me with your presence," she expressed with a gentle sincerity. Countless souls seem to gaze past the widows, as if they are mere shadows in the light of life. Your gaze met mine. Ethan stood with grace, a wave of emotion constricting his throat. "It was a true privilege, my lady." General Preston gently grasped Ethan's shoulder with a firm, yet tender touch. "My dear son, there is a saying we hold dear in the military. At times, the most essential act is to firmly uphold your convictions. Today, you demonstrate that honor transcends the confines of the battlefield." As the procession readied to embark, Ethan noticed the bank's patrons and employees peering through the glass, some with a hint of shame, while others bore expressions of newfound admiration. At times, the general remarked softly, "It requires but a single soul to rise and transform an entire system." Should you hold the conviction that a single, perfectly timed gesture can alter destiny, kindly respond with a yes. On that Thursday morning, the occurrences at First National Bank set in motion a series of transformations that spread far beyond what Ethan could have ever foreseen. By the following week, a formal written apology was graciously extended to Grace Carter by the bank. In a noteworthy development, they unveiled a new training program designed for all staff, focusing on the proper management of veterans' accounts and ensuring that military families are treated with the utmost respect they deserve. Madison, the customer service representative, gracefully reached out to Ethan, confessing that their encounter had compelled her to reflect upon her own biases. "I never realized how dismissive I had become," she confessed, her voice tinged with a hint of regret. "Now I perceive souls, not merely exchanges." For Ethan, the military ceremony had unveiled unforeseen possibilities. General Preston, captivated by the young veteran's instinctive commitment to principle, extended an invitation for him to serve as a civilian advisor to the military's community outreach program. The role granted Ethan the opportunity to connect veterans with the communities they returned to after their service, fostering a beautiful bond between them. "You possess a profound understanding of both realms," the general articulated, "and you embody the bravery to voice your thoughts when the moment calls for it." While his plumbing skills may not have been directly relevant, Ethan discovered a profound sense of fulfillment in his new role. He played a pivotal role in crafting programs that supported veterans as they embarked on their journey into civilian life, paying special attention to the tangible challenges his fellow servicemen and women encountered, from maneuvering through bureaucracy to securing fulfilling employment. Within the esteemed halls of military headquarters, a photograph graced the main corridor. Ethan stood gracefully beside Grace Carter at the memorial dedication. Underneath, a delicate caption whispered, "At times, remaining still signifies reaching the greatest heights." The image emerged as a cherished emblem of the command's heartfelt dedication to uplifting military families. Long after her active service had concluded, Grace transformed into a cherished presence in Ethan's office, frequently gracing the staff with her delightful homemade cookies. Their bond blossomed, with Grace gracefully stepping into the maternal role that had been left vacant since Ethan's mother departed from this world 2 years prior. Through Helen, Ethan forged connections with numerous veterans from bygone eras, weaving an intergenerational tapestry of support that enriched the lives of all who participated. Madison Wilson, the bank manager whose demeanor had swiftly shifted in the presence of General Preston's commanding authority, discovered himself unexpectedly altered by the encounter. Half a year following the incident, he reached out to Ethan, offering his financial acumen to assist veterans navigating the challenges of money management. On that day, my perspective on my duty to this community transformed, Wilson confessed during their initial gathering. I came to understand that I had been sheltering myself behind policies rather than extending a hand to those in need. Perhaps the most significant transformation unfolded within the very heart of the bank. During a staff training session, Madison, who once held a dismissive view of challenging elderly customers, revealed her newfound perspective. Once, I believed my role was merely to navigate the intricacies of transactions with grace and precision. Now I realize that there are moments when silence may not be the most fitting reply. On that day, I discovered that to stand tall does not always require a grand display. At times, it simply signifies the unwavering choice to remain present when another seeks solace. Her words echoed gracefully among her colleagues, many of whom had chosen to remain silent during Helen's trials. Slowly, the essence of First National transformed into one of heartfelt service, transcending the confines of mere transaction processing. For Ethan, the experience illuminated a truth he had felt deep within yet never fully expressed. That courage took on various forms in civilian life, distinct from its battlefield counterpart, yet remained equally significant. In the heat of battle, we unite out of necessity, he shared with a gathering of freshly discharged veterans. In the tapestry of everyday life, we must choose to unite as one. That decision to remain steadfast when it would be simpler to turn a blind eye. That is what safeguards the ideals we endeavored to cherish. A delicate plaque graced Ethan's desk, a thoughtful gift from Gracito commemorate the anniversary of their fateful meeting. It contained but a mere 3 lines. At times, the courage of a single soul championing what is just holds far greater value than 1,000 who remain silent in the shadows. Thank you for being by my side. In my contemplations of Ethan and Helen's tale over the past weeks, one question continually dances in my mind. How often in our lives do we find the courage to rise, even as others choose to turn their backs? It is simple to speak of bravery in grandiose ways, dashing into flames or executing noble rescues. Yet the most prevalent form of courage often resides in the gentle whispers of everyday life. Choosing to stand by someone who is being cast aside, ignored, or unjustly treated. Ethan Brooks refrained from delivering a grand speech within the confines of that bank. He neither threatened nor intimidated. He resolutely turned away from the ordinary when it meant an elderly woman being overlooked. His actions gently remind us that true courage often takes root in the quiet strength of remaining steadfast when others choose to turn away. I find myself pondering the multitude of grace carters that grace our daily existence. Individuals whose narratives and contributions linger in the shadows, awaiting the gentle gaze of someone who truly appreciates their essence. The distinguished elderly veteran at the grocery store, gracefully endeavoring to retrieve an item from a lofty shelf. The immigrant family, bewildered by the paperwork that native English speakers navigate with ease. The individual with a disability encountered yet another entrance that remained beyond their reach. In these moments, we are all presented with the same choice that Ethan once encountered: to engage in a circumstance that bears no direct consequence upon us, or to gracefully withdraw and tend to our own affairs. The world gently advises us to remain within our own paths, to steer clear of the troubles that belong to others. We are led to think that true heroes don uniforms or wield extraordinary powers. Ethan's tale gently whispers to us that true heroism can often be found in the quiet promise of unwavering support, declaring, "I shall remain by your side until we find resolution." Who has remained by your side in your most delicate times? Who stood steadfast by your side when you encountered dismissal or disrespect? Perhaps it was an educator who saw your potential when others had turned away. A colleague who gracefully interjected when your voice was overshadowed in meetings. A companion who stood by your side during challenging appointments. An unexpected hero who stepped in during your moment of distress. Pause for a moment today to cherish their memory. Even more delightful, extend your gratitude to them for their serene bravery. And perhaps, more significantly, ponder this. When was the last occasion you embodied that person for another? When was the last time you embraced discomfort to ensure another was honored with the respect they deserve? Every day, we are graced by the presence of heroes, unadorned by medals or uniforms, quietly moving through our lives. They remain in the shadows, unnoticed by the world, devoid of the applause and recognition they deserve. They gracefully opt for righteousness when the world embraces silence. They recognize that the essence of moral courage frequently demands a greater price than that of physical bravery, as it requires a steadfast commitment, manifested in subtle, unadorned gestures, day after day. When you next observe an individual being cast aside, ignored, or subjected to unfair treatment, let the memory of Ethan Brooks linger in your heart. Do keep in mind that at times, the most compelling stance is not one of raised voices or fervent demands. It is the gentle act of remaining by someone's side, unwavering, until their voice is truly acknowledged. Perhaps the most enchanting facet of Ethan's tale lies not in the dramatic intervention by General Preston, but rather in the courageous choice Ethan made to step out of the shadows and stand beside Grace when there was no audience, no recognition, and no assurance of triumph. In that serene instant of choice, he unveiled the essence of his being. As Grace shared with Ethan, my Samuel often remarked that a single individual who champions what is just holds more value than a whole regiment of those who stand for nothing at all. Today, let us embody that singular essence. Let us be those who observe, who remain steadfast, who choose not to turn away. Join us at Great Man, where tales such as these will linger in your heart forever. Remember, if you hold the belief that quiet courage embodies the essence of true strength. We shared the tale of their journey. You bestowed it with significance. My heartfelt gratitude to you.